Hi, I'm Monica Youn. This is my couch. This is my cat, Vincentine. And I am joining you from Coxsackie, New York, which is a little town in upstate, best known for having a childhood virus named after it. And I've had this house for about 15 years. I use it mostly as a writing retreat, and I've also lent it to some friends who have finished their own books by being able to get away from their families and children. And this time I've been here for a little over 2 weeks. I left Brooklyn with my 5-year-old son when someone in my building was diagnosed with coronavirus, and I live in a high rise on the 17th floor, and it just started to feel unsafe even to get into the elevator. So we came up here, and it feels very strange to be away from New York in this moment. I moved to New York in 2000, and of course 9/11 happened in 2001. And, until then, I really liked the city. I thought, this is a city filled with cool stuff and cool people and cool things to do. But I think I really started to love the city deeply in those months after 9/11. I remember on 9/11, I lived quite close to the World Trade Center. I wasn't allowed to go back to my apartment. And so I was walking around the street, and I didn't know where I was going to spend the night that night. My cell phone wasn't working, and I was wearing, of all things, flip-flops. And I didn't have any change to use a payphone, and a stranger saw me just standing there next to the phone staring, and just gave me change to use the phone, and I found a place to sleep that night. And I remember, those nights, you would go out to the parks at night wearing a surgical mask, and you would see the fires on the horizon, and people would be singing or playing music, and you would be frightened, but you wouldn't be alone, and that meant a lot. And so I thought I would read a poem from another time of crisis in New York. This was the 1929 stock market crash. It's a very famous poem by a very famous poet and a very famous book. The poet is Federico García Lorca. The book is Poet in New York, and the poem is Dawn, translated by Greg Simon and Stephen L. White. Dawn. Dawn in New York has 4 columns of mire and a hurricane of black pigeons splashing in the putrid waters. Dawn in New York groans on enormous fire escapes, searching between the angles for spikenards of drafted anguish. Dawn arrives, and no one receives it in his mouth, because mourning and hope are impossible there. And sometimes the furious, swarming coins penetrate like drills and devour abandoned children. Those who got out early know in their bones there will be no paradise or loves that bloom and die. They know they will be mired in numbers and laws, in mindless games, in fruitless labors. The light is buried beneath chains and noises, an important warning to rootless science, and crowds stagger sleeplessly through the boroughs, as if they had just escaped a shipwreck of blood. Now, this isn't an uplifting poem by any means. It's a poem that condemns societal inequality, condemns the wreckage left by hypercapitalism. It's a poem that, explicitly disclaims optimism, disclaims paradise, disclaims mourning and hope. But it offers something else, which is a quality that I love about New York. Because New York, whether you're seeing it from the sidewalks or whether you're seeing it from the fire escapes or from your commuter train, everyone is seeing the same dawn. You might, you might open your window and you can hear the same sounds. Sometimes you can smell the same smells, for better or worse, uh, with the rest of your neighborhood. And, this isn't anything as easy as equality. Um, Certainly, the past few weeks have brought home to us the vast inequalities in New York, um, and across the world, and the consequences of that inequality. But there is something in New York which is, if you're suffering, you're not alone. If you are frightened, you're not alone. If you're lonely, even, you can be lonely, certainly there, but you're never really alone. It's something that's not optimism, but it is humanity. And the vastness of humanity in New York is what puts it at risk right now. But the vastness of humanity in New York, its closeness, is what I at least love in it. So, thinking about New York, and thanks to all of you for joining me here.